Action to Michael Flynn's immunity demand from the House Intelligence Committee. I want to bring in Congresswoman Jackie Speier, a Democrat from California, member of the Intelligence Committee. Congresswoman, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Wolf.
What do you think of Michael Flynn's offer?
Well, you know, the best defense is a good offense, for starters. I mean, the fact that Michael Flynn on the campaign trail talked about immunity as admitting that you have committed some offense is kind of telling in and of itself. But I agree with everyone who has said that it's very premature. And again, there's no way that immunity is going to be granted, and it would be granted by the Department of Justice if and only if it provided a bigger fish in terms of dotting the I's and crossing the T's and getting to someone who is more critical in terms of violating the law. But we also know that...
I want to just interrupt for a moment, Congressman. You say a bigger fish. He was the national security advisor to the President of the United States. There aren't a whole lot of bigger fish out there. Clearly the President is a bigger fish.
That's right. And if he would be in a position to say the President was engaged in working with the Russians in trying to undermine the election, that would be big.
That would be huge, but I just want to be precise. As of this moment, you don't have any hard evidence to back up that suspicion?
No, not at all.
Okay, so let's talk about Michael Flynn a little bit more. His attorney speaks of claims of treason against his client, says they have to have assurance against, quote, unfair prosecution. His words, is the House investigation looking at possible crimes committed by Trump associates right now?
Well, the committee is looking at everything associated with the Russian interference with our election. And as we heard at our very first hearing, it was Director Comey who said that their investigation is also looking at the relationship of persons within the Trump campaign and whether or not they were coordinating with the Russians in an effort to undermine the election. So that all becomes part of our investigation.
But you will always defer to the FBI investigation, to FBI Director Comey. He said there's a criminal investigation underway a week or so ago. You will always take steps to make sure you do nothing that undermines his investigation, right? That's correct. Absolutely. All right. CNN has now confirmed that at least 2 White House officials, maybe more, helped provide your Chairman Devin Nunes of the Intelligence Committee, with the information when he went over to the White House. He then came back the next day, presented that information to the President, as you recall. I interviewed the Chairman this past Monday, and we had this exchange. Listen to this. Did you meet with the President or any of his aides while you were there that night?
No, and in fact, I'm quite sure that I think people in the West Wing had no idea that I was there.
By holding the meeting on the White House grounds, it makes it appear that someone in the administration was coordinating the release of this information to you. Is that not the case?
No, it's not the case.
You think he was telling the truth?
No, I don't. Let's also remember how this all started. This started with a tweet by the President when he was unsupervised on a Saturday morning. He then attributed it to a judge on another station as being, a jurist with great reputation, and then that jurist was terminated by that other station. And for the last 3 weeks, all we have done is talked about this. And I'm firmly convinced that the President and his aides concocted this and drew Devin Nunes into it, and he became, advocate and an abettor to what I think is an absolute fabrication. And for the President of the United States to pursue this in this manner and frankly have all of us directed away from what we should be doing, which is looking at the Russia connection, is really a shameful set of circumstances.
Do you have any knowledge? Do you know if higher-ranking White House officials approved the visit by Nunes to the White House, access to that sensitive information? We know 2 White House officials brought him there, showed him that information. One official from the National Security Council, another official from the White House counsel's office. Do you know if higher-ranking White House officials approved this visit, or did these 2 guys just act on their own?
You know, I don't think anyone acts on their own in the White House. There's always someone that you've got to get approval from. And let's go back in time. Before our open hearing by the Intelligence Committee, it was the President of the United States who either tweeted or said in a public setting that just wait, there's going to be information coming out that's going to vindicate me on this. This has been totally and completely orchestrated by the White House, and I believe the President knew about it or was part of the effort to do this.
The White House has offered to show classified documents they've uncovered, which supposedly involve surveillance, indirect surveillance of White House, of Trump campaign, Trump transition officials. They've said they will share this information with the chairman, the ranking member of your House Intelligence Committee, but will you see them as well?
Well, I believe we absolutely must see all of that information. And let's be clear, too, that when Devin Nunes talked about it, he said it was incidental collection and he believed it was legal. There is incidental collection that goes on when we are in the process of following a person, because we are trying to find out information about that other country. So if a foreign person, an ambassador or a foreign dignitary, is communicating with a U.S. person, there can be incidental collection. It is almost always masked. And at the hearing we had on the Intelligence Committee, the Admiral Rogers went to some lengths to talk about the process that they go through to unmask a name. Now, again, Devin Nunes said, well, he thought it was masked, but he could tell who it is. Well, the fact that he could tell who it is doesn't change the fact that it was masked.
Congresswoman